Hi guys, welcome to our video on the Panasonic UX180 camera. This is a production camera. It's a run and gun professional digital film camera which records onto SD cards. This camera comes as a kit, and in the bag you'll find the camera itself, a pair of headphones, a Rode NTG4 microphone, an XLR, and windshields, chargers. So to get the grips of the camera, first there's a handhold slot here for run and gun mode, which has a zoom in and out. Our power slot and record is here, so powering it on, and our battery. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that battery is charged. There's a button on the back which we can press, which will tell us the percentage. To release the battery, there's a push button at the very top. We push that in and push the battery up, and that will release the battery to get into the charger. Likewise, when we put the battery back in, we start from the up position, push in, and slide down. You'll hear a lovely big click. On the left hand side, we see the main controls of the camera. So on this camera we've got everything from our audio channel controls. Our SD cards live under here. It's a push release. It'll come with one 64 gig card, which will get you about an hour and 20 minutes. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is delete all of the content on the SD card. So let's turn the camera on and see how we do that. On the right hand side, you push down and slide to get the camera to boot up. Now, at this moment, we don't have a screen. So we pull the screen out and twist upwards. And this lets us see what we're doing. So to get into the menus, you'll see there's a menu button just here. We press on that menu button and it activates the menu on the touchscreen. And what we want to do is we want to go down to Other Function. So we navigate ourselves to Other Function. Then we've got the option of Format Media. This will format the SD cards. So make sure when you're giving the camera back that you have all of your footage off. We press Format Media, we choose the SD card slot, in this case it's an SD1. Yes, we do want to format it. Yes, it'll erase all content and it'll take a little while. The more media on there, the longer it'll take to format. So it's given us the option to exit the menu once it's done, and we're going to go back into that menu system, press Menu, navigate to Other Function again. And this time, what we're going to do is find Initial Set. So let's try and find that. Here we go, Initial Set. We'll press on that, and we want to go All. So this is resetting it back to factory settings in case one of your peers or anyone else that's loaned this camera before has set it up for a very specific scene. You'll hear the camera make a few little noises, that's normal, and then we're good to go. Okay, so that's the camera back to factory settings. What we want to do is make sure it's set up the way we want to record. We'll press Menu for a third time, and now what we want to do is we want to go into System Mode. We press System Mode. We want to make sure it's 50 Hz, MP4, and that it's in UHD 25 frames rather than the 50. This will get us our hour and 24 minutes. Okay, once we've selected that and exit, that's our camera pretty much set up in the basic mode, ready to go. What we need to make sure is that we've got some manual setting capabilities. And on the side of the camera, there is a switch here that is auto or manual. We want to make sure that that is back to manual. Okay, so we've got our camera back to factory resets. Now what we need to do is introduce you to the iris settings, so aperture, the shutter settings, as well as how to get our white balances. We'll start with white balance. You'll see there's a white balance button here. Note there's a gain button and a shutter button as well as this focus automatic manual. But for starters, we're going to press the white balance button until it says ACH. And when it says ACH, we're going to set the white balance by pressing button number 9 on the front left of the camera. So I'm going to aim at my white wall, press white balance until it comes to ACH, press it in once, wait, and it'll say white balance set OK. So we want to do that for each of our shots. So that's our white balance set. Next thing we need to do is to make sure that our camera is not on auto iris or auto aperture. We do this very simply by pressing the iris button. So you'll see when I press iris, there'll be this STD written next to the f-stop. If you press it again, it'll turn it off. When it's off, it means it's in manual mode. So likewise, focus, up, continually auto, so the camera's going to always be looking for something in focus within the frame, so it might jump in and out. Manual means that you can set it and it won't move. I advise you keep it in that mode. That leads us on to the rings. This is our iris ring, so this is how we open and close the aperture. The next one is our zoom, how we zoom in and zoom out. And the next one is our focus. There's also a really useful feature on this camera, which is push autofocus. When you press that, the camera will select a focal point, and then when you let go of it, it will maintain it, but it won't keep searching like it would in auto mode. So, iris, closing and opening the aperture, how much light comes into the camera. Zoom, in and out. Focus. Great. The next one we need to look at is shutter speed. On the left hand side was shutter. When we press shutter, it allows us to access this little dial to control the shutter speed. You'll notice when it's in that right mode, it'll say shutter on the left. I'll just press that little that mode again. So one says icons, and it says shutter. Now the shutter speed is represented on the right hand side here. Good old touchscreen. So what I want to do is keep that between 1/60th and 1/50th. Once you've decided on that speed, maintain that the whole way through. Anything faster, the image will be a bit juddery. Anything slower, and it'll be a bit blurry. Okay, so that's the picture side set up. The next thing we need to do is introduce the audio side. So you'll notice on the right hand side is a mic holder. We supply you with Rode's NTG4 microphone, which is a really solid mic. It has a couple of features on it which you might not have seen before. So on the microphone itself, you have a -10 gain, you have a low cut reduction, and you also have a high pass increase. So they've included this on this microphone because they feel that the high frequencies are lost when you put a windshield on. So if you know you're using a windshield, it's probably wise to put that on. If you want to get rid of aircon noises, put your low cut filter on. And if it's actually just too loud, you've got a little bit of -10 there, but I wouldn't worry about that. To loosen up the housing for the mic, what we want to do is place the mic in. We don't want to cover any of these vents. We want to put it in this section here so that we can still get to our buttons. And we screw that down until it's nice and tight. Now don't go crazy. Once it's tight, it's good. There should be some wobble in there. That's to help with handling noise. You will have a lovely short red XLR. Now on this camera, we have an input on the left hand side here, or actually on the right hand side of the camera, and also one on the back. So this is perfect for radio packs, if you're doing any wireless radio pack work. But this one, for this purpose, for this shotgun mic, ideal. So we have a ridge here, we line that up with the ridge on the microphone, and then again we check where our male end goes in, and we push, and we really want to hear that click. So once the mic's in, what we need to do is make sure that the audio is set to power that microphone and to tell the camera that's the one we want to use. We don't want to use the onboard mic because frankly, with all due respect to Panasonic, they don't make microphones. So behind this little door number 1 is our inputs. So you can see there's line, mic, and 48 volts. If I drop this down to 48 volts, it will start to power our microphone, which is just what we want. We also have the channel select. So which channel will channel 1 listen to, or which input will channel 1 listen to? This was input 1, this was input 2, and then there's the internal input. We want to make sure it's onto input 1. I'm only using one microphone in this setup, so what I'm also going to do is tell channel 2 that it's input 1. This is really useful because what I can do is I can set one channel off the audio to be slightly quieter than the other in case there's any sudden loud noises. By default, when we set the factory settings, the camera puts an auto onto channel 1 and channel 2. We need to make sure that the audio is set to manual. So press menu. We're going to go to audio setup, press in there, and you'll notice that there's a low cut section within here. We're going to leave that because the low cut on the mic is pretty good if we want to choose that. But audio level 1, manual. Audio level 2, manual. Okay, that's us ready to go. Happy shooting.